Hello, my stamping friends. My name is Holly Peterson, and I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in Cheyenne, Wyoming. And today I have a thank you card using some of the Elegant Pine Snowflakes designer paper. Just a quick, simple little thank you card that we're going to make today. So I have all of our supplies here. We're going to start with a card base of Old Olive, 8.5 by 5.5, scored at 4 1/4. Basic white, 5 1/4 by 4. This is the two-tone Secret Sea cardstock, and it measures 5 1/4 by 4. And this one is embossed with the beautiful pattern. I have another one that is embossed with the lovely stripes. Here's the beautiful pattern and the lovely stripes. This lovely stripes is really deep. So what I did was I put a piece of vellum in here, and when I embossed it, it cut that vellum right in half. But it helps it so that it doesn't do that to your paper. So I have that, and that's what I did here. And it's still embossed really deep in a couple of areas and various locations, and cut the paper. But you can see the difference between the dark and the light of that Secret Sea. We're going to use this one today. And then I have two-tone Old Olive that measures 5 1/2 by 3. And both of these I'm using the dark side of the paper. And then we have the Elegant Pine Snowflakes that's 5 1/2 by 2. So the first thing I'm going to do is we're going to just adhere the designer paper to the Old Olive. And they're both the same width. So we'll just layer that on there. Looks like I might need to trim it just a little bit. Okay. And then with our two-tone cardstock, it has a white core. So what we're going to do is we're going to tear the edges of this. And if you tear towards you, you see that white middle of the cardstock. If you tear away from you, then it stays the color of the cardstock. So I'm going to tear towards me on both sides here. Okay. And then you can kind of, rough that up if you want to. And then also with the two-tone cardstock, because it is white in the middle, if you have this is just a little sanding fingernail polish or a fingernail sanding block, you can sand the two-tone cardstock and it will bring the white out to the front. And in fact, I think I'm going to do that a little bit on this whole layer. It does leave kind of a dust behind, but there we have a different way to use that embossing folder. So let's see here. It appears that I do not have, here's a piece of ribbon. And this ribbon is, I think it's actually a pre-order item that won't be available until January, but it's Secret Sea, and it is bordered open weave. And we're going to just layer one of these across the top. Decide which way I want that. I think maybe that way. And what I like to do is, especially since this ribbon is kind of see-through, I take a glue dot and I just put a glue dot on either end of the ribbon. And then I just fold it to the back and anchor it with that glue dot. Okay, now we can put this layer on here. Actually, I'm gonna put the Secret Sea layer onto the card base first. So I've already scored that, but I'm gonna use my bone folder to give that a nice crisp crease. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and put the Secret Sea layer down. Looks like my cardstock was a little bit long on the one side, so we'll flip it over. And then this will go all the way to the edge of the card. So now we'll go ahead and adhere that. And I do like to put additional adhesive over my ribbon when I bring it to the back like that. And actually, before I glue that down, I use the Heartfelt Hexagon punch, and I punched half, or almost half, a little more than half of that tag that we're going to put our greeting on. And I'm using cherry cobbler, and the sentiment stamps came from the Impressions of Bloom. Now this stamp set is on last chance, so once it's gone, it's gone. This is going to tuck behind our designer series paper layer, and I'm just going to attach 3 glue dots to the bottom of this. And then, oh, my ink wasn't dry. Let me try that again. Okay, we'll set that aside for a minute. On the inside of the card, we are going to use the I Appreciate You. And then I'm going to put a scratch piece of paper here. I'm using this pine bough from the Delicate Pine stamp set, this stamp set. And I'm going to just put a couple on the inside of the card. And I'm using shaded spruce for that. And I like to stamp once, and then you can stamp again and even a third time to give it different colors. Maybe I'll put one up here on this one. And then I also stamped some on the envelope. Okay, this should be dry. Let's try this again. Put some glue dots on the bottom here. And I think we'll put it about right there. And then I'm just going to put this closer to the bottom. Just layer that down like that. Put the inside layer in. Always after Christmas, you need thank you cards. So I thought that paper was more wintry than Christmas per se. And then I've already tied a little bow with that same ribbon. And I like to use a glue dot. And I actually put 2 glue dots on the back of my bows. And we'll just put that up here. And we could stick a glue dot underneath here. I might do that just to keep it secure. I like to use my Take Your Pick tool. We'll just lift that up. There, that'll hold that a little bit better. We can cut the ends. And then the last thing to do is to add some embellishments. So I have the Pearls of Beauty. And we're going to use the white ones here. And for embellishments, oops, I like to use the putty end of your Take My Pick tool. And if you don't have any putty here, just tighten the head on there and the putty will come out. And then be sure to loosen it so that it doesn't keep pushing the putty out. And then I come from the side and just push it off, and then it holds it for me. So I'm going to put one, I guess we'll put one there. And then 2 small ones, we'll put one up there. And maybe we'll put the second one down here with the big one. And there we have a cute thank you to send after the Christmas holiday. Thank you for stopping by. If you've enjoyed my video, I invite you to give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Bye for now.